Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the sixth in a series of webinars to celebrate British Science Week 2021 and the theme of Innovating for the Future. I'm Claire Willis from the North East STEM Ambassador Hub, and I'm going to be hosting this afternoon's webinar. I am delighted to be joined on my virtual sofa with Laura Hepburn, the CEO of Greenology, a recycling firm based in Middlesbrough, who take waste products and make them into energy. Well, I really don't know what to say about Laura. I guess what she hasn't done would probably be easier. She even calls herself a career chameleon. Born, bred and educated in the North, even as a child, she started her entrepreneurial journey, reserving car parking spaces for flashy cars and offering to wash them at the same time. Whilst most kids were asking for bikes or makeup for birthdays, Laura remembers asking her dad for a suit so she could show her interviewees she meant business. Laura studied locally and went on to flourish in design, earning her the Young Designer of the Year award and landing an unconditional offer into Liverpool John Moores Art School. Laura's design journey took her onto the big screen and included working on films such as Game of Thrones and Tolkien. Although I think her claim to fame is probably that she's the only girl to turn down James Bond. I'll be asking her about this later. Laura is on the Northern Power Women 2020 Future List. She was shortlisted for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award, the Phoenix Award. She won the Top 50 Women Engineers in Sustainability 2020 Award. She was invited onto the NatWest Accelerator Programme, one of only 20 business people in the UK, and also sits on the Renewable Energies Council. As you can tell, she is somewhat of a whirlwind. 1 minute chatting to Theo Paphitis about business ideas, closing a deal with JCB, as well as completing a master's degree whilst gaining her pilot's license. Wow. However, her journey has not been easy. She has had obstacles of biblical proportions: fire, threats, floods, and the plague in the form of COVID. But this has not stopped her. Don't forget to type any questions you might have in the chat facility and include your school name, and I will ask Laura as many as I can at the end. So without further ado, over to you, Laura.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Obviously, it's British Science Week. I'm so excited that we're talking about innovation. That's what I'm great at. But I'll be honest, I didn't really like school overly. And I didn't start off with a great start. So I've been one of those kids that was always battling. And I wanted to get away from home as quickly as possible, really. How many people have asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up, when you get older? I was asked that, but I used to come out with really weird things, which is great. You know, it's good to be a bit different. And people used to say to me, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd say, I want to go on the moon. I want to be a designer. I want to pick wildflowers. And people just used to look at me and think, oh, isn't she cute? And that went on through life. So I'm the kind of person that has lots of ideas, and I am always thinking of how can we solve this? How can we solve that? And I did when I was little as well. So once I left school, I went on to college to be a designer, and that's about problem solving. And it was really suddenly very different that people would ask me what I wanted to do or how could we solve this problem. And I started to really enjoy college. And I was the first person in our family that went on to university. So it was quite a big thing because nobody had really sort of left where we were from, and nobody had a degree or anything like that. But I just knew I had more to offer. So I went off to university, and then I was poorly. And I also had 2 babies in a year, and that kind of changed my plans slightly. I was 19, and yeah, it was a struggle, but do you know what? I got 2 jobs alongside because I knew I wanted to do something amazing. So I kept going, and people were saying to me, you've got too many ideas. And back in the day, that to me seemed like it was a problem that I had too many ideas. You were supposed to just do one job. And then I realized I could actually use that to my advantage. And then I realized that we didn't have to be just one thing. We could be anything we wanted to be. So I went through lots of different jobs and did lots of problem solving. And then I decided that there was a lot going on in the world, and maybe my ideas and the strengths that I had could be put to something that was good use. And when I was younger, we didn't really talk about climate change or the problems that were happening, but the younger generations were really good at that. And I think you guys are the future, and you'll be coming up with all these new ideas. But because of the different things I've done in life, I've sort of waited a bit longer, but now I'm wild and I'm free and I can do whatever I want to do. So one of my passions is to make sure that you guys have the chance to be whatever you want to be. And one day I can be an engineer, and the next day I can be a scientist, and the next day I can be working on films such as Dumbo, or I think you'll have probably watched Incredible Beasts. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do. There's nothing stopping you. So, you know, I've had this great career of problem solving and being innovative, and it doesn't matter what career path I chose. So what am I doing now? What am I doing now? I'm looking at the problems we have in the world, and I'm trying to solve them. And one of the big areas that we are having problems with right now is recycling. So what's better than having somebody that's your age from a younger generation? And that's my daughter, who's 13 right now. And she's seen the journey that we've been on, and she has some great ideas too. But Molly didn't enjoy maths or science, technology or engineering. And she didn't realize that actually she privately does enjoy those things, but we immediately assume it's somebody in a classroom, or it's somebody with a white coat on, or it's a bit boring and I'm not really into that. But when you look into it, things like gaming or making things or Lego or all these things are classed as engineering. And we need to change what we think engineering is. And it doesn't need to be something that just men do and they go and build things. It can be anybody, and you can do anything. So I'm going to play you a quick video that I think Molly gives you a better idea of what we do on our site at Greenology here. It's one of many things, and it gives you a bit of an idea of what we do. So just bear with me. I'm going to share my screen, which obviously is very technological in these days. So let's go. I'm going to make this nice and big, and I hope you guys can hear it.
We just can't see it at the minute, Laura.
Hi, my name is Hepburn, and I'm the director of Greenology. And this is, I'm Molly Rothwell, and I'm her daughter.
No, we can't see it. Just try again, Laura.
Right, just one sec. Let me try again. Can you still see me?
Just see you at the minute. Oh, that's it.
Is that it? Oh, yeah. Don't we love technology? This is why I need you guys, because you're the future. We're rubbish at this. One sec. Let me just play this for you now.
Hi, my name is Hepburn, and I'm the director of Greenology. And this is, I'm Molly Rothwell, and I'm her daughter. So we're here today for the International Centre for Life, and we're going to talk about the things that we do in our job. Obviously, we're surrounded by COVID right now, and we're having to work from home. Some of our workers are on the front line because we deal with recycling. The main thing that I do is I turn plastics that can't be recycled or the unrecyclable into power. So why do we do it? We all know about climate change and problem plastics. You must have seen some, Molly.
Yeah, well, it's all been on the news all around the world, and in different countries, even in our own country, in the sea, there's pollution and bits of plastic that are getting washed up, and not many people can get fresh water because the water's just full of different plastics and horrible things.
And it must be killing loads of animals and having an impact on the environment.
Well, yes, in different countries, there's the world's warming up, so the air is not very clear at all, and it's harder for people to breathe. And when people litter, animals can get hurt by all the litter and die.
And what about the fires that have been happening in Australia or in other countries?
Well, lots of people are having to leave their homes, and different animals like koalas and kangaroos and basically every animal gets harmed by all these fires that are happening because of things that mistakes that people are making.
Exactly. So it's not just in the sea. We see lots of programs where we see whales and we see fish, and things that we eat are actually full of plastic right now. But that's our problem. We did that. Our generations made it really bad for the future generations. And this is only going to get worse. We've got to fix this. So you'll have seen people that are like David Attenborough, or you've got people your age, Molly.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of people that speak up for global warming and climate change. One of them is Greta Thunberg, and there's a lot of others.
And they're doing some great stuff, aren't they? So they're marching and they're trying to show people that it is a big problem and we have to deal with this now. So in my business, Greenology, we're going to give you an example of what we do. And okay, we can't be on site today to show you, but basically we're developing a fantastic piece of kit. So at the moment, when people have these plastics, when we do our recycling, and most people have a recycling bin at home, what do we do when we're looking at our plastics, Molly, to go into our bin?
So on most pieces of plastic, everything you have in your house will have a little sign on the bottom of it.
Is it a triangle?
And it's a little triangle and it'll have a number on it. And each number is a different type of plastic. But not every plastic has it on, because not every plastic is recyclable.
Excellent. So what number have you got there?
So this is number 2.
So number 2 is a HDPE, and you'll probably find that on a lot of different types of plastics. There's 2 plastics that will be recycled by your council, and that is number 1, which is PET. So was that number 1?
No, this was number 2.
So this is number 2. So this is something called HDPE, and a lot of things are made from HDPE or PET, and your council will happily take that. So that one was HDPE. What's on the bottom of this one?
Okay, so this is some aerial capsules for your washing machine.
What number's on there, Mol?
So on the bottom of here we have number 1.
So number 1 is in a triangle, and that's great. That can go off and be recycled into lots of different things.
So as long as it has the triangle, it can be recycled.
So what happens when there's things that don't have a triangle, Mol?
So like this, if I look at the bottom,
No triangle. So that's not good. That can't be recycled. What about this one here?
No,
There isn't anything. So what does that have on it instead?
it has a little sign that says not yet recycled, and it has recycle sign but with a cross over it because you can't recycle it.
So that's really bad. As a manufacturer, this has got a plastic lid that probably could be recycled, and then the rest of it can't be. So the things that can't be, people send these to 2 things. They go waste to energy, it's called, and it gets burned in incineration, and that's no good. What else happens to it, Mo?
It can get buried underground, which is really bad for the planet, and it's
just not good, is it?
No.
So that's called landfill. So the 2 things we want to stop is things going into the air by being burnt and incinerated, and things going into the land by being buried and in landfill. So our big piece of kit that we've got basically will take everything, so the unrecyclable. So what we would do is we'd take the plastics, Molly will show you now. So even the ones that can't be recycled will go into something like a massive oven. So that's what we do. We put it into the oven, and then with no oxygen, it goes into the big oven. Just going to pop it on now, and it will be set at a certain temperature. And once it's at that temperature, it can then make amazing things. One of them being, once it's melted down, oil. So when you strip the plastic back to its original source, it can make oil. This is fantastic. This is a byproduct that's worth a lot of money. So from those recyclables and unrecyclables, you can make a product that you can make money from. So what can you do with this oil, Molly?
You can drive with it.
Drive. So you can put it into a car, or you could put it into a ship, or anything with an engine. The good thing about this oil is it can then go on to make electricity. So electricity, so it could be heating, it could be chilling, it could be anything that you can make with electricity. So can you imagine in other countries, how good would that be in Africa, Mo?
It would be so good, helping other people just from things that you are using in everyday life. And it's also a lot better for the planet. Instead of burning it on a fire that goes up into the air, you're using this to help other people when you're just using it every day.
Exactly. So these communities that have got the waste and they don't know what to do with it and it's polluting the world, they can then put into this machine called pyrolysis or depolymerization. It's a bit techy, I know. And then it can create energy, which can help these communities thrive and survive and make money for their economies. So we really like that, don't we? So STEM industries, don't be scared of STEM. You'll have been to lots of STEM things, Mo.
I've been to a lot of STEM school trips, and a lot of them really put me off a lot of the science and basically all of the STEM industry, all because I'm not really that interested in science and maths. It's not really my best subject. And another thing is that when I went, there was loads and loads of men and there was hardly any women. But this shouldn't make you think that you can't do it, even if you are a girl. It should make you think, oh, I want to do it more. And that's why more girls should get involved, and boys too, but everyone should get involved no matter what.
So Molly's just hit the nail on the head there. I didn't start as somebody who was an engineer, I was a designer. And the difference is you don't have to be massively into maths or science. You can do whatever you want to be and you can innovate. So I'm a problem solver. So whatever the problem is, I can come up with a solution. And that has helped me become an engineer. So in my job, we've done some amazing things, haven't we, Mo?
Yeah, you won lots of awards.
So from doing this and solving these solutions, I became the Northern Power Woman of the future. And I've won an award to be the top engineer in sustainability. I would have never guessed that because that isn't what I started my career as. But it just goes to show if there is a problem, this is a massive problem. We've got to fix our world. We've got to make it a better place for future generations like you so that you can go into all these different areas and solve these problems through STEM industry. So don't ever be put off that you might not be good at maths or you don't think you're good at science. You can do whatever you want to do. And so this is very important. So what can these people do at home, Molly?
Okay, so before you put things in the bin, just randomly, just chuck everything in the bin, make sure to look on the bottom of things and look for the little signs for the triangle to see if it is recyclable, and then you can recycle it.
So what, imagine if we built an app. So we're thinking that we might build an app that you can use at your school, so you can click on that button, check if it's recyclable. Even if it's not, you could send us a message. We can collect your plastics and we'll take them away, and we can actually make them into other products on site, like
you could make sunglasses.
We could make skateboards, jewelry, furniture.
toothbrushes?
Absolutely, there's anything. So we could take those plastics and we can make them into other products. And if this is something that you're excited about, have a look at www.greenologyuk.com. And there is a hashtag that goes with this, Mo, hashtag life goes online. So have a little look online at what other people are doing right now. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so I'm trying to go back to the screen again. I think, has that worked?
We can see you, Laura.
Okay, so I hope that was okay and it gave you a little bit of a peek into our world. And it just goes to show that it's not just our generation, it's your generation that will make the difference. So I'm quite excited because I think some people have been popping some questions in the chat. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got some questions, Laura. Yeah. Do you want me to start with them?
Go for it.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to a 14-year-old you?
Oh, 14-year-old me. What was I doing when I was 14? I was quite set on being a designer at 14, but I actually really didn't like my school. And so for my first year of when I was trying to do my GCSEs, I didn't go very often. I was quite naughty. And I then suddenly started to realise that if I kept doing that, I wouldn't get anywhere else. So for the second year before my GCSEs, I put everything I could into achieving those GCSEs, because if I didn't get them, it would have changed my path massively. So at least I gave myself, I don't know, a bit of a kick to say, look, this is no good. You are always going to be where you are now unless you do something about this. And luckily, I had enough time to understand that and put some work in. And I got my GCSEs. I worked really hard. And I shouldn't have let that school put me off my future. And so if I had any advice, it's you can be whatever you want to be. That is definitely it.
Great. And I guess, you know, education is really important. But if it doesn't go quite your way, then it's a case of just, you know, don't be too disheartened. You know, just do what you feel is best for you, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and school doesn't suit everybody. I think we're very lucky that we have some amazing apprenticeships, and we've got some people on here that didn't do overly well at school or felt that they couldn't learn in their school or have learning difficulties. And we have some great people doing amazing jobs that they would not have managed to do anywhere else. So we give people opportunities to be able to grow as people and make a difference to the planet. And they can do that through an apprenticeship, which is working every day. So they're not bogged down with the things that they felt were a problem. So there's lots of opportunities that probably we didn't have when we were 14, but it's great that people are recognising that now.
And there's lots of information, you know, we've got the benefit of the web now, haven't we? Which I think when I was at school, we certainly didn't have that.
No, it's funny. We talk about design. At 14, I actually designed a phone where you could look at other people on a screen, and we're doing it now. And it was like, wow, that's so in the future and cool. And it's like, we're doing it right now. We're seeing each other while we're talking. So yeah, how bizarre.
If only you'd got some investment then, Laura, you could have been.
Yeah, it was the future, hey?
Yeah, definitely. So you probably, I guess I know the answer to this one, but what does a typical day look like for you?
Wow, my days are not boring, because not only do I have Greenology, I have several other companies as well. And so when we went into COVID, I saw opportunities of what we can do. So we're working on a really great project at the moment called Blade Runner, and we are taking blades from the great big, you can see the wind farms, and currently they've been buried in the ground. We are working on a piece of kit that can turn that back into fuel, that goes back into the ships, that can take the blades that have been damaged down so they don't go into landfill. And we also get up really early in the morning and we check in with each other as a team, and then we plan our day. But I spend a lot of my time now that I've got a great team to be able to help other people and what they're doing. So the skills that we have, we can share with other people. And that's something we didn't do when we were younger. We get, as companies, we can work together to create innovation and solutions. And that's really important, definitely. So yeah, it's a full-on day and we do lots of things. It's never, ever boring. That is a fact.
So how big's the team there then, Laura? How many, because you're based in Middlesbrough, aren't you?
Yeah, so we have different teams as well, which is nice. So we've got people that have different skills, and there's about 15 in all on this team, and they could be running world-leading kit, or they could be a group that are looking at the tyres that we take in. So we take tyres from cars and then they put them through a massive shredder, and it's very exciting. It's called a shark, which is really good because it eats them, and it turns them into little pieces, and then the little pieces then get taken. So if you play football or hockey or anything like that, you'll go on a 3G pitch. We put the crumb into those 3G pitches. So people have probably seen the product, or in horse menages where horses are galloping around on these nice floors. That's something else we do, as well as turning it into the oil. So everybody has a different job to do, but they're all equally as important in their roles to what we can do as a company.
Yeah, it takes all sorts, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Different skills.
Yeah, different skills are really important. And the good thing is, I think generations now are being very diverse. I'm very diverse. So I could jump on a digger, or I could go and give a speech, or I could go and make a film tomorrow, or I could go and design something. And that's what I would encourage everybody to be: very changeable in what you can do, and keep your skills options open. Don't feel you have to do one job. You can do anything, definitely.
Yeah, great. You mentioned this a little bit in your video, but I thought I would ask it. What can young people do now to help the planet? So we've got lots of schools watching this afternoon from right around the UK. And I know there's lots and lots of things that young people can do, but what's the easiest thing and the most valuable thing, as far as you're concerned, that these young people can do to help the planet?
Yeah, we all watch TV programs with David Attenborough, and we watch what impact we're having on the, on the world as a whole. And we've seen with COVID, things are going to get hotter or colder or wetter or drier the more the climate gets in such a bad state, and that's terrible. The things that we can do that are really important are being responsible. And when I say responsible, like Molly was talking about earlier, it can be the plastics that you use, or when you're looking at buying things, or your parents are buying your food, starting to ask, where does it come from? Has that come from a long way away? Can we get it locally and look after our planet in that way? Or even pushing, are we using loads of petrol and diesel in our cars? Should we be going electric? This is for you. The biggest thing is having a voice. And if you don't think something's right that the older generations are doing, say something and get involved and go to groups. And you can do that through school councils, or, even if you have a little environment group at school, we encourage you to really do that. And if anybody ever needs any help with anything like that, we're happy to come to schools and have a chat with people. And things like planting trees, that's not a big thing to do, or putting lovely bulbs in your garden and encouraging wildlife. These aren't massive things. They're just small things, but small things make big things happen, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And great advice. And it's just the easy stuff. We're not asking people to do huge litter picks or, organize campaigns or whatever. It's just the little things. It's what people can manage to do, particularly under the circumstances we're in at the minute. So how long have you had your own business then, Laura?
I've dabbled in and out of business for a lot of years. So I've been self-employed a couple of times when my children were young. So I had to shape my career around my kids. I've got 3 kids. 2 of the boys are older and off at university now. And then Molly's still at home. So I was a single parent too. So I had to do things that would help me pay my bills, I guess. And then I also started to run a business around my eldest son, because he had autism and he wanted help while he did his exams. So I started a little shop selling things that I thought were designed and really nice. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then I sold that business. Alongside that, I was also making films, and that helped me be able to afford to run the business that I'm in now, Greenology. We have to do a lot of research and development, so that takes a lot of money. And so I knew that the skills that I had in filmmaking would help the company be able to afford to do all the research and development that we needed to do. But now we're making a profit and we're doing really good things, but it does take time. So I think I'm classed as an entrepreneur, but I don't really like that word, because I always immediately think of big posh men in suits. And we're not like that. We're just everyday people that have got some amazing ideas.
Yeah, no, I think I'd definitely call you an entrepreneur, Laura.
It's a funny word, isn't it? It's a strange word. It sounds very scary. But yeah, I think people who have lots of ideas but bring them to life, that's the key. If you can, we usually don't have any money either. It's usually people with lots of ideas and no money that make a good entrepreneur, I should say.
Yeah. Well, we can't stop without mentioning your film experience. So what did you do? What was your job in some of the films that you mentioned? Obviously with your design background, but it'd be really interesting to hear what you did.
Yeah, I have, through the jobs that I did in the design world, I started to be able to create, let's say, adverts for Cadbury's or banks or Jaguar Land Rover, for example. And I would have the idea at the beginning, and then I'd say, we need to create a film for an advert that looks like this. And then other people saw my adverts and said, oh, you need to come and work with us in film. It's exactly the same thing, but we need your ideas again. So I would go as an assistant director, and it was great. So some of the films that I worked on, like Dumbo, or I was saying earlier, Incredible Beasts, I'd imagine a lot of you guys have watched that, is dealing with a lot of people. So lots of problem solving. So constantly thinking, where do they need to be? Or how much food do they need? Or should the actor be over there dressed as that, you know? So there was lots of things that were very exciting. And it was how it looked at the end of the day. So again, that innovation and that problem solving. But I've worked on some lovely, lovely films, and I was really glad to be given the opportunity to be able to do that. And I still go back now, even though I don't need to, because I think it develops me as a person, and I have a lot of skills in that area. And I really enjoy it. And so by having a couple of days out on set, I've just done something for Netflix, a new Sherlock Holmes film that's coming out shortly. And by working on that, I can apply my skills, I can meet new people, and I can just have a really nice time as well, which makes me come back to this business and feel really fresh. And I think that's important too.
Yeah, and you're going to have to tell us the James Bond story, Laura.
So I worked on a film called Yesterday, and that'll be the year before last now. And I worked with a big director called Danny Boyle, and he got picked to do the new 007. And I was asked if I wanted to work on it. And I did. I actually did go down to work on the most amazing sets, but I needed to put my energy into Greenology. So they asked me if I would direct, and I actually turned them down. So I did get to meet Daniel Craig and the rest of the guys. Can't say too much, otherwise they'll kill me. And it's going to be an amazing film this year. So watch this space. It's a shame it hasn't been launched yet, but it is a fantastic film. So yeah, there's not many. Who needs a Bond man when you can be a Bond girl anyway? That's what I say.
Exactly, absolutely. Well, I think we've got all of the questions. I'm just checking my other screen there, but everything's fine. No, that's been fantastic, Laura, and I know we haven't gone into half of your story. As I said to you earlier, trying to write down what you have done was just, we would still be here now. So, you know, a big thank you to you for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate how busy you are, and, you know, contributing your words of wisdom and your experience and knowledge and enthusiasm and passion for what you do is just incredible. So, and I think that message of, you know, go out there and be what you want to be. And you know, even if people maybe say, oh, that's not going to happen, you're always going to get that. And it's just having that grit and determination, which will see you through. So thanks, Laura. And I'm sure some schools might get back to you to sort of talk to you about how they're dealing with their recycling and how you might be able to help. So once again, thank you very much. And yeah, and for those of you who are watching, tomorrow afternoon is our last session this week. So join us at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon, where we have Kate from the All-in-One company, and she's going to talk about her onesies, which some celebrities have actually worn. So 1 o'clock on Friday, and then that finishes and rounds up our British Science Week. So thanks, Laura, and goodbye to everybody, and thanks for joining us.